Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you, both the in-person audience as well as the online audience, to our session today, Demystifying Artificial Intelligence, How Nonprofits Can Embrace AI and Increase Financial Transparency, as well as use data to demonstrate impact. I'm joined today by our speakers from Sylogist. First off is Chris Stevenson. He's a director of sales over at SylogistMission. Chris has been a leader at Sylogist and in the not-for-profit ERP software system for over 25 years and a technology advocate for not-for-profits for over 30 years. He partners with not-for-profits of all shapes and sizes to match them with modern, high-value software. Chris is joined today by his colleague, R.K. Richards, who is a solution architect, he has both implemented and used financial systems as well as AI. So today, I want to encourage you to ask some questions. Make sure that you put them on the session, and Chris and RK will get to those questions if we have time at the end of the session. So with that, let me introduce Chris.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon. Okay, let's get into it. How many of you guys were in the earlier AI presentation that just let out? Okay, this is going to be nothing like that. Okay, those guys did an awesome job, right, with the use cases and really the application of the technology. And we're going to take a step back. I did have one other question. How many of you are actually service providers to nonprofits versus nonprofit accountants or users? So how many are service providers? If you could raise your hand. Okay, and I'm assuming the rest are actually with nonprofits, right? Okay, good. Okay, well, let's get into it. So this whole idea of demystifying AI, because I think it's safe to say it's everywhere, right? So everyone is experiencing it, whether you want to or not. So today's learning objectives are really to help communicate at least our view that hopefully you'll appreciate the understanding of the power of certain AI tools and how they can be applied. Real world applications, so my colleague RK is going to give you an example that we think would be very apropos to illustrate some of what can be done with a variety of AI tools. And then the magic of natural language. So the opportunity to actually speak to an application and have it return results and being able to do it in a very natural language kind of way is pretty exciting. So those are really our learning objectives for today. So AI has entered the chat. The reality is we're at a inflection point. Okay, AI is here, whether you want it or not, right? And we're all experiencing it in various walks of life. But one of the things we thought we might do just to kind of set the table a little bit, there were some statistics that were actually presented by 2024 Work Trend Index report from our friends at Microsoft and LinkedIn. So one of the bigger percentages was that 75% of workers are using AI in some form or fashion. And believe it or not, a lot of folks don't realize they're even using it. But certainly AI helps to save time. So I don't have to convince organizations, particularly nonprofits, that saving time or getting utilization of resources is a very key thing to have happen. So saving time, 85% of those folks that were interviewed mentioned that they were able to focus on more important work. Now, how valuable is that? Another 84% said that it allowed them to be more creative in how they chose to analyze and extract data from their systems. And then 83% actually indicated they enjoyed their work more via the AI experience. 79% of leaders say AI is necessary to stay competitive, and we thought that was quite interesting, right? So there is some strong motivation to be able to leverage technology in a way that allows you to be on the front end of the business activity. 59%, however, worried about quantifying the value of these tools. And I think that's safe to say that a lot of organizations, while they recognize the importance of AI, are really grappling with how do I actually quantify the results or the tools or the value that's being provided. Additionally, from 2024 work trends, 68% struggle staff struggle with the pace and volume of work. So the pace of the work, the volume of activity, the complexity of the work is outpacing really the patience or the capacity that these users or staff are feeling. 46% feel burnt out. And that's a significant issue because I think as a nonprofit, the last thing you want to do, you're already dealing with limited resources in a lot of cases. The last thing you want to do is have your staff suffer extreme burnout. And then lastly, 53% worry that using AI on important work makes them look replaceable. And that's a fear. That's a legitimate fear that I think staff people have, is that, okay, this AI thing helped me out here. Do you guys still need me? Will you still need me to be around to provide services and support if in fact you're using AI in a significant way? But 66% of leaders say they wouldn't hire someone without AI skills. So hopefully that reinforces for staff people that it's not about replacing you. It's about getting more mileage out of your effort, out of your work by applying AI to your day-to-day activities. So how can AI help nonprofits? So it's really about the power of AI. And there's a couple key things that we kind of lean on. And obviously this list is humongous. But I think as we've observed and talked to clients that we work with, getting more out of your limited resources. So I talked about that earlier, and I think it suffices to say that the significance of being able to get more out of a limited pool of talent, resources, is significant. So whatever ways you can do that, certainly you want to leverage that in a big way. And then to be able to put your mission critical data to work much quicker, right? So let's face it, ERP systems, which is where we live, okay, here at Sylogist, and we work very closely with Microsoft technology, but the reality is you get a lot of data that hangs out in these ERP systems. But a lot of times being able to get the data out, the reporting tools that are available, which can be very prolific, whether it's Power BI or some other, Excel certainly, but being able to get that data very quickly and easily without being structured, right? So again, the natural language approach and just being able to ask the system for detailed information in a manner that makes sense for you and allows you to really run your business effectively. So a few practical AI uses for nonprofits. And again, this is a very abbreviated list, but what are some of the areas? Again, when we think about accounting systems, right? Again, that's the world we live in, and I'm sure same thing for you guys. One of the first is monitoring financial performance and mission impact. Okay, so again, there's a lot of data hanging out in the ERP system, whether that's statistical information about number of people served, number of beds used, number of vaccines initiated, or better yet, how did we use certain funds for certain programs based on certain funding mechanisms, right? So all of that information, and we all know that fiscal accountability is absolutely key. So a lot of times just leaning on standard reporting mechanisms doesn't get you the data in a timely manner, nor is it easy necessarily to get it in an ad hoc kind of way, right, in a structured reporting environment. So AI certainly helps to provide that kind of facility. How about automated budgeting and forecasting? Okay, the ability to generate budgets based on 5 years worth of history, take a certain subset of those accounts that are associated with certain funds or programs, and maybe lift those by 5%. And maybe there's another group of accounts or funds or programs that I want to lift by a different percentage. A lot of reporting systems don't allow you that kind of flexibility on the fly. So AI's ability to allow you to extract and get at very meaningful, and we know how important budgets and forecasting can be to nonprofits. It's a livelihood, okay? It's a lifeline of information that's absolutely vital and critical for you to run your businesses. And then lastly, one other key category, and this one goes on and on and on, fundraising and donor engagement. So the wealth of information that relates to the profile of our donors, the level of investment they're willing to make in our programs, wealth management activities, right? So there's a host of component data, if you will, that would really be nice to farm in a very, very open environment, again, not restricted to standard reporting tools. So we just want to share kind of what we thought would be considered a few practical examples of where AI can be most efficient and most effective for a nonprofit organization. So back to the idea of issuing natural language, and this is where the fun starts. And again, if you were in the earlier session, those guys did a phenomenal job of illustrating, again, use cases where you've got a variety of questions that were being asked of the system to return very important data. But in this case, being able to issue an, ask me anything type scenario is really where the fun starts. So with that, I'm going to ask my colleague RK to come up and give you some pertinent examples. And again, we're just going to dive into a little bit of financial activity to give you a sense for how that would work.
Thank you, Chris.
It's all yours.
Yes, he's got to turn on my. Thank you, Chris. Thank you all for your time. And I'm going to take you into our solution. So our solution is SylogistMission, and it is built on Dynamics 365 Business Central. So Microsoft Business Central is their small and mid-market ERP. It's there's over 130,000 instances of this in the world. It's one of the most deployed, maybe the most deployed ERP in the world. And where we're at now is, within the past 6 months, we are seeing Copilot released into the solution. And so I just want to give you a sense of where this is going, what we can do today, and maybe it'll help you think about what we're going to be doing, 6 months or a year from now. So I can pop open my Copilot chat, and I could say, please list all posted. Thank you. Why is that happening, Chris?
Turn it off. Turn the PowerPoint all the way off. There we go. You're there.
Okay. So from within the solution, you see this little Copilot icon here. I can ask questions, and if I know where to go in the solution, maybe I would do that. But if I'm a new user, or if I just want to use the Copilot functionality, list all posted purchase invoices for vendor number 10,000. And it's going to go through here, and it's going to pull something up for me. And I could be asking it for payments. I could be asking it for open orders. I could be looking at purchase orders or purchase requisitions, whatever the document or the transaction type might be. But it's going to display these for me in just a moment. And while that's working, I would also note that this Copilot functionality is across the suite of products. So whether we're talking about Outlook, or if Chris and I are talking to a customer about Power BI and how we may want to report on Power BI, this Copilot functionality is in every tool that they offer now. And so now you can see it found 17 posted purchase invoices. I could click on that posted purchase invoice. It will take me right to the document. If there were attachments in here, I could see those as well. So I've immediately called on that information, and I could do that in a variety of ways for a variety of different use cases. The other way that I like to talk about this and think about it is the financial reporting aspect. So for those of you, and I'm sure most of us in the room, we have familiarity with pivot tables in Excel. So inside of Business Central, there's now a feature called Analysis Mode. And if I wanted to create a new analysis, I've just gone into the general ledger of this company. This is a demo company, so it's all weird data, but I'm looking at the entire ledger, and I could scroll down here and say every transaction that has ever happened in the history of this ledger. And so from here, I can create an analysis on the fly by using natural language. List general ledger account balance with columns for sum of debits, sum of credits, and net activity. And while that's preparing, I just want to point out down here at the bottom that you can view these. It will help you. If you're unfamiliar with prompting, look up a purchase invoice, show the latest sales invoices. Do we have items under stock? Explain the field name. Help me understand the business process to click through something. If they guide something, is there a keyboard shortcut? Does Business Central support this? So there's a prompt guide there as well that's very helpful. But as you can see here, it's just giving me every GL account with a column for debits, a column for credits, and the net activity. So just imagine if we were in a demo company that had good data, there would be show me the fund balance by program, show me the net assets by program, show me capital campaign revenues, show me the expenses by cost center. And you can see here that it's asking me if I want to keep this analysis or if I want to tweak it in some way. So I'm going to say add a filter for dimensions because our solution is built on dimensions rather than an account string. And so it's asking if it wants to see it. Let me just do this. Add a dimension, add a filter for business unit. And we'll say keep it. And then if I drill into one of these, it's going to show me some more, whether that's delineated by business unit or fund or grant or award, whatever it might be. I can then save this. I could right-click here. I could export it to Excel. I could send this off. And you can see how it would be helpful to start creating reports in this way. Rather than going to Excel or going to Power BI and building these on the fly, I'm just going to use the pivot table functionality inside of the solution. And this is what it's doing today. 6 months ago, we were not seeing Copilot inside of the solution. So it's just the flavor of what's possible. And I'm sure you guys can understand that as this matures, the functionality is going to increase. And you're going to be eventually, building these reports from scratch using natural language.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you, RK. I need to go this way? Okay, got it. Okay, so at the end of the day, and we just happen to be Microsoft fans, guys, but you can see where ERP software is headed. Okay, a lot of applications are starting to take advantage of embedded AI within the financial app, right? Because a lot of times when we talk AI, we talk about creating email transactions or evaluating data, from a generic database. So the idea that ERP systems are headed this way is really the key. One thing I'd love to do is invite each of you to come by. If you have any other questions, certainly come by our booth at 404. But also, we have a special mission going on that hopefully you guys will appreciate. It's Community of Hope, and we're actually building kits for that organization. So please swing by booth 404 and help us build these kits. We've committed to, I think, 200 kits or so for that organization, which is obviously a very worthwhile cost. So if you don't do anything else, come by and help us build a kit. And thank you for your time. We appreciate it.